Ever wondered what makes a good user interface or user experience? Welcome to the journey of discovery where we unravel the intricate and fascinating world of UI and UX. These two terms are often used interchangeably, but they represent quite different aspects of the product development process. User interface or UI is all about the visual elements of a product, how it looks. It's the colors, the buttons, the icons, the typography, the layout. It's about making your product aesthetically pleasing and visually intuitive. It's about creating an interface that's not just beautiful, but also efficient and easy to navigate. On the other hand, user experience or UX is about how a product feels. It's about understanding and addressing the needs and expectations of the user. It's about creating a seamless, enjoyable journey from the moment a user starts interacting with your product until the moment they leave. The difference between UI and UX can be summed up with a simple analogy. Imagine walking into a restaurant. The UI is the decor, the layout of the tables, the color of the walls, the style of the menu. The UX, however, is the overall dining experience, the quality of the food, the friendliness of the staff, the speed of service, and even how easy it was to find the restaurant and park your car. In the world of product development, good UI and UX are critical. They can be the difference between a successful product that delights users and a product that frustrates them and drives them away. Understanding the principles of UI and the laws of UX is therefore an essential skill for anyone involved in creating digital products, whether you're a product manager, a designer, or a developer. Now, let's delve into the principles of UI and laws of UX that make for a great user experience. First, let's understand the principles of user interface. Our first principle is clarity, which emphasizes that every element on the screen should be easily understandable to users. This includes using intuitive language, clear icons, and a straightforward navigation structure. Think of it like guiding someone through a well-lit room. Everything is visible and easy to interact with. Next is consistency. This principle calls for uniformity in design elements such as colors, fonts, and layouts throughout the interface. Imagine you're writing a book. You wouldn't want to change the font or layout in the middle of a chapter, would you? The same goes for user interfaces. Hierarchy, our third principle, is about organizing content and elements based on their importance, directing users' attention where it's needed most. It's like setting a table for dinner. You place the main course in the center and the sides around it, guiding your guests' attention. The fourth principle is feedback. It's essential to provide immediate and informative responses to user actions. This ensures users know what's happening within the interface. It's like having a conversation. When you say something, you expect a response, right? Simplicity is the fifth principle. The design should be kept simple and minimalistic, avoiding unnecessary elements or information that might confuse users. Imagine you're in a quiet, clean room. It's easier to focus, isn't it? The sixth principle is accessibility. It's crucial to ensure that the interface is usable by individuals with disabilities, and consider various user needs, including those with different abilities or impairments. It's like building a ramp next to stairs. It provides an alternative route for those who need it. The final principle is visual design. Using visual elements such as colors, typography, and imagery enhances the overall aesthetic appeal and usability of the interface. It's like decorating a room. The right colors, furniture, and decor can make it more inviting and comfortable. Now let's move on to the laws of user experience. Hick's law states that the time it takes to make a decision increases with the number and complexity of choices. In other words, it's easier to choose an ice cream flavor if there are only 3 options instead of 30. Fitz's law tells us that the time required to move to a target area is a function of the distance to the target and the size of the target. So, placing important buttons within easy reach and making them large enough to easily click or touch will make for a better user experience. The law of proximity suggests that items that are closer together are perceived as more related than those spaced farther apart. This can guide how we group and space elements in our interface. Miller's law explains that the average person can only keep 7 items in their working memory. So we should design interfaces that don't overwhelm users with excessive information at once. The Zeigarnik effect shows that people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. We can use this to encourage users to complete actions or tasks in our interface. The Gestalt principles explain how we perceive grouped elements as a whole rather than individual parts. These principles can guide us in creating intuitive and meaningful patterns in our interface. Finally, Parkinson's law of triviality, also known as the bike shed effect, suggests that people tend to give disproportionate weight to trivial issues. As designers, we should focus on solving significant problems rather than getting stuck on minor details. These principles of UI ensure a clear, consistent, and engaging interface for users. Now, it's time to explore the laws of user experience. These laws provide a framework to understand how users interact with interfaces, empowering us to design for a better user experience. Let's start with Hick's law. This law posits that the time it takes to make a decision increases with the number and complexity of choices. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by a menu with too many options, that's Hick's law in action. The takeaway? Simplify options to reduce decision-making time for users. Next up, we have Fitz's law. It states that the time required to move to a target area is a function of the distance to the target and the size of the target. In simpler terms, big buttons are easier to click on, and items closer to the user's current attention or interaction point are quicker to select. The law of proximity comes next. This law explains that items that are closer together are perceived as more related than those spaced farther apart. So, if you want to show that certain elements are related, group them together. This helps users understand the relationships between different elements on your interface. Miller's law is another important one. It suggests that the average person can only keep 7, plus or minus 2 items in their working memory. If you've ever wondered why phone numbers are typically 7 digits long, now you know. It's essential to design interfaces that don't overwhelm users with excessive information at once. Next, we have the Zeigarnik effect. This principle states that people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. This is why progress bars and partially completed steps can be so effective in digital interfaces. They keep users engaged and motivated to finish their tasks. Then there are the Gestalt principles. These principles, which include similarity, proximity, closure, and continuity, explain how we perceive grouped elements as a whole rather than individual parts. They help designers create meaningful and intuitive patterns in their interfaces. Finally, we have Parkinson's law of triviality, also known as the bike shed effect. This law points out that people tend to give disproportionate weight to trivial issues. As a designer, it's crucial to focus on solving significant problems rather than getting stuck on minor details. These laws of UX help us understand how users interact with interfaces and how we can design for a better user experience. Let's recap what we've learned today. We delved deep into the principles of user interface and the laws of user experience. In terms of user interface principles, we highlighted the importance of clarity, consistency, hierarchy, feedback, simplicity, accessibility, and visual design. Each of these principles plays a vital role in creating an intuitive, user-friendly interface. Always remember, the user's ability to understand and interact with your product is paramount. The laws of user experience, on the other hand, are more about understanding the psychological aspects of user interaction. We explored Hick's law, which urges simplicity in design to reduce decision-making time for users. Fitz's law taught us about the importance of the size and placement of interactive elements. We also discussed the law of proximity, which underlines the significance of grouping and spacing-related elements. Miller's law reminded us that humans can only process a limited amount of information at once. So, don't overwhelm users with too much information. The Zeigarnik effect emphasized the power of uncompleted tasks in maintaining user engagement. The Gestalt principles provided insights into how humans perceive grouped elements as a whole. And lastly, Parkinson's law of triviality, also known as the bike shed effect, reminded us to focus on significant problems rather than getting stuck on minor details. In essence, understanding and applying these UI principles and UX laws can significantly enhance the usability, functionality, and overall experience of a user interface. They are not just theoretical concepts, but practical tools that can guide your design process, helping you create interfaces that are not only aesthetically pleasing, but also highly functional and user-friendly. So as you embark on your next design project, keep these principles and laws at the forefront of your mind. They could be the difference between creating a product that merely exists and one that excels. Remember, a good user interface and experience can make or break your product. So keep these principles and laws in mind in your next design project.